What's up, guys? It's your boy Jayson Acosta, and welcome back to another episode of Too Much to Ask. And we have a special guest today on the show, your boy Isiah Torres.
Hey, what's up? Just right on for having me. It's cool you ended up getting down here to Pueblo, so I appreciate having me on.
Yes, sir, man. It's good to have you on. So we're back, and we're chilling with the guy himself, man. We're here with Isiah Torres, and we're going to chop it up, get into some questioning and some things that a lot of people want to know, man. You know, kind of walk us through some things that have been going on in your fight career, and let us know where you are mentally and physically, and when can we expect you back. So one of the things I wanted to get into is your pro debut. Let's start there. You do have an extensive amateur background, and that I will want to touch on for sure. But I just want to kind of course through the first three that people have been kind of recently watching, and just get what the mental state was going into your pro debut at the Pueblo Convention Center underneath the banner TSE.
So for me, my all-time MMA goal was to make my debut in Pueblo. The very first fight I ever went to was for TSE. I had my uncle Adam. He's basically like he's like a huge father figure to me.
Okay.
He had fought Andrew Tennyson, and he was the main event for TSC. And just seeing that and like the venue there, and just how it was like all brought together, and seeing him and like how happy all the family was being all there together, made me want to have like the same thing when I made my pro debut. So having it in Pueblo and for the same promotion for TSC, it was a real big goal for me.
Oh, that's dope. So there was some meaning there. There was definitely some meaning behind that. Okay, so walk us through, because now you make your pro debut, and then you're fighting your second fight for Fury, right?
Yes.
So how did that come about? Like, did you sign a 3-fight deal, or did that just was like a last minute thing, or like how did that come about?
So I ended up going under management under my my old coach Jeremiah Ariano, with player management. We kind of just did it together, and we're getting like Diggs is over there, trying to get a couple more people. AJ Robb, I'm sure everybody's seen AJ Robb, but he started reaching out to other people, other promotions, and we were just seeing what was coming up in Colorado after my pro debut. And Fury ended up having a card in November, so we had reached out to Eric, ended up getting on that card, had a couple guys that we were supposed to fight. We were just saying yes, whatever, whoever, we don't care. And they ended up bringing Ben down there. And for Fury, it is a 4-fight deal or a year, and I think my year's up in October. So come towards the end of that, I've done 2. I would like to do all 4, but we'll see how this leg heals up and see if we get 4 in. But I think it does end in October.
Okay. And so then you go into that second fight up there in Denver at the National Western, and walk us through the mental state walking into that fight. Like now you're coming out of your pro debut successful. You're making your way into Fury. You're fighting up in Denver now, and this is the second fight, and which a lot of people would consider one of the bigger stages of the indie promotions in the MMA realm. So like that's a big step. Some people kind of go local for a little while, and then they kind of step up into that stage. But like you went TSC straight to Fury. So just kind of walk us through how the nerves and what the training camp was like, and getting in there and just walking through the ending and how that finished.
So for like fighting for TSE or anybody like in Pueblo, it's more like a hometown feel. I am from here, so like seeing everybody, it's kind of like all about you, I guess, in a sense. And I had Robert, who was ahead of me, good training partner too. So we knew that like a lot of the focus was around that TSE card was like kind of around us.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of time to like take it all in, talk to family before the fights, even like watch a couple fights out there with family. So that was really cool. But going to a bigger stage with Fury, you just having one pro fight, I'm obviously going to be lower on the card.
Mm-hmm.
So that was strange. I haven't had that since the beginning of my amateur career, that I had to fight like right away. So to me, it kind of felt like rushed. Getting out there, I kind of warm up fast. Usually I'm just, like I said, like just chilling for a long time before I have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Watching other fights, any MMA fighter, I think like watching fights makes you like, you're obviously like, damn, I want to be in there right now. But with Fury, like, you're like, damn, I really don't want to go out there right now. Like, you don't want to be first, but I think I was like the fourth fight or something. But just watching that, like, I didn't get to watch nothing. I was just like pushed out there and ended up having to go there. So it was a lot different, but I wouldn't take it back. Fury's a really good promotion. I like him, but that's the only difference I really felt.
So you didn't. So with that victory, just for people who didn't get to watch that, I mean, with that fight, you didn't come out on top. Can you walk us through how that ended? Did it go to decision or was?
Yeah, it ended up going to a decision. For anybody who's watched me, they know. They always see my striking first.
Yeah.
If you just look like on YouTube and anybody, what they're gonna see is that I'm a really good striker here. So what are they gonna want to do? They're gonna want to throw like a lot of wrestlers at me, a lot of grapplers at me, and that's kind of what happened. Ben, he was a really good wrestler. Just like looking like at his YouTube and Facebook and stuff, saw that he was really, really good wrestler. And being a 125er, I'm really tall and lengthy for the division.
Yeah.
So these shorter dudes is a lot easier for them. So just working that whole camp, we had to wrestle, and I hate wrestling. Like, it's something that I really don't know who likes wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, you might be good at it, but deep down you're like, damn, this shit sucks.
Yeah.
It's just a different grind. So we were doing that during the whole camp, getting little injuries here and there, and just having to push through it. Like, this is a big opportunity. I gotta go. First round was going really good. I stuffed him pretty much the whole first round. Towards the last minute, I started finding my range, started piecing him up a little, and then second round came out. I saw that he kept dipping right before. He would either dip and throw like a lazy left hook, or he would dip and try to touch the legs and then strike off that. So I knew that. I threw 2 knees right off the bat and wobbled him pretty bad, and then I cut him with the elbow, and that was the first time I've seen being pro, you could elbow and knee now.
Right.
So I got to use both right away. So I had to split him. Looking back on it, I should have just kept pressing. Like, I think I did have him rocked pretty bad. But like I said, like, going through the wrestling cardio, like, I was just like, damn, well, I don't want to blow my whole load right now trying to get him out of there when wrestlers are just grinders. So he's always going to be there. And then it started fading a little bit, and the takedowns for him started to get a little easier. And then he had really good hip pressure. I remember that. And he caught me in a crucifix, and that was that's been the worst position I've been in my fight career right now. And it was probably like 20 to 30 elbows. And like, you feel it, and you're like, deep down, you're like, at this point, like, I'm not getting up. How much time is there? It's just like, I could just get out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could just stop moving and take 4 unanswered, and it'll be over. And like that, there's always a fight in between the fight. So in that fight, when that was happening, I was like, he got me, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I ended up getting through it and scrambling just enough to where the ref didn't stop it. In the third round, it was kind of, he just like held me against the cage, really with like no damage. So he ended up winning 30-27. I did get a point taken away too, so that was kind of shitty. But yeah, that's all I could really say about that. He's just really, really good. His game plan versus my game plan. Obviously, I got to stay long, stay lengthy. If he gets inside, he's going to have the advantage, obviously. And
right.
That's kind of ultimately what it came down to.
So, moving forward, obviously there's some learning curves there for you, though. So, like, you were able to take something away from these 2 fights, and moving forward, you get a second fight through Fury, and now you end up in Houston.
Mm-hmm. So, originally, we were supposed to fight in Dallas. I was supposed to fight in Dallas against I don't know, but he was another short wrestler. So whatever, just straight camp. I do like having those camps because ultimately, like, me having to straight wrestle during the whole camp is gonna make me better in the long run. So I was like, or whatever, we'll do it. Then they offered me, they're like, hey, let's go. What about you just fight in hometown in Colorado against Angelo, who's more of like a striker? Like, okay, like, that's more of a favorable matchup for me, a lot easier, and I don't have to travel. And Adam had just got signed with Fury about the same time, so we were trying. Our like whole goal, like, this whole time, is to be on a card together, which would be really cool for like our family. So I was like, all right, well, we'll go to the Colorado one, but it was a month later. So this whole time I'm in a fight camp, I'm like trying to like avoid peaking too soon now.
Right.
So I kind of chill. Now we got to switch up to more striking. Then Angelo pulls out, or the whole Colorado card got scrapped. So they're like, well, we can't do it here, but in 3 weeks, we'll go to Houston. I'm like, all right. Still the same opponent. So I'm like, okay, cool. Then Angelo just goes like MIA. Nobody, like, he wasn't answering. He was taking forever. Didn't sign his contract. Took too long. So then they're like, well, we have a couple guys. I was like, all right, well, just send them to us. And then they ended up sending us Drake. And I just saw right away that he's pretty good jiu-jitsu guy, but that he blows his load pretty quick. So I was like, well, I've been in camp. Like, you don't want to waste a whole training camp. You know what I mean?
Right.
Looking back at it, should we have been like I've been in training camp so long, like I'm hurt. I'm getting hurt in camp. Like, should we just chill and maybe wait till this card that's coming up next week? But I was like, no, I don't want to waste like a whole training camp, and you just want to get back in there. So I ended up taking it, and then that result happened too.
Right. So you do have a crazy extensive amateur background in the Colorado scene. I mean, I was going through footage and just going through a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I always had this assumption that you were just a kickboxer for some weird reason. And then I was going through footage, and I was just like, well, hold on. He boxes, then he kickboxes. But then not only did you box and kickbox, but you collected some hardware. And just walk us through where and you know, when did you get your first title fight, and what was it in? Was it in boxing? Was it in kickboxing? And just walk us through that.
So when I had very first started, I only wanted to do jiu-jitsu. Like, I didn't even want to compete like at all. And
no striking. You wanted to do jiu-jitsu?
I loved jiu-jitsu when I first started. And they're like, well, try boxing. I was like, all right. Started liking boxing. Well, try kickboxing. And then so all of that ended up in, well, let's just do an MMA fight. I'm like, okay, cool. 18 was my first fight. And then had that one. And then I probably fought 3 more times that year, or 2 more times. And I ended up getting to 3-0. And then they had hit me up to fight Justin Parker. Sparta Combat League did, to fight Justin Parker for a title fight. And I was just like, he's a good striker.
In boxing?
No, in MMA.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's kind of the same way. Like, when I looked up him, like, he was doing kickboxing fights. So I was like, well, like, in my head, I'm like, well, I'm just going to try to take him down. And it ended up going, and right away, still to this day, I think he's probably the hardest hitter that I've fought. And his leg kicks were crazy. And I ended up clipping him, like, 50 seconds in. That was the first time like I slept somebody. So that was my first title, and then I had a couple more. But just going from boxing to kickboxing, it just helps you grow. Like, ultimately, like I said, like the wrestling. If I have a straight wrestling camp, like I know I'm gonna fight a wrestler, that's gonna make me better because all I'm doing is wrestling. You know what I mean? If I'm boxing, and I think that's what having my long amateur career has helped me a lot. And then so I end up just keep doing MMA for a little bit. Won my second title. I went to Nebraska for MCF. I don't know if you've been out there.
Whoa. No, I haven't been out there. But so you traveled for that was the...
Yeah, so my first title fight was with Sparta Combat League.
Right.
I won that at 4-0.
Okay.
Then I fought Nate for the No Mercy one. He beat me.
Oh, okay. So you did fight for No Mercy.
Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy.
I think I had like 2 or 3, maybe 2 in between, and then I ended up going to Nebraska, winning their title, and then they had hit me up. Russ Jones had hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, no one's ever defended like the amateur belts. Like, was that something you're interested in?" I was like, "Yeah, like I really did like their promotion. It's really cool out there." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go back out there." I ended up defending it, so that was my third one, and then came back and had like 2 more fights. I think I went like 1-1. So it was like 6-2, 7-2 or something like that. And at that point, it starts getting really hard to get any MMA fights. So I was like asking Sparta, like, hey, like if you guys have boxing, like I'll box. If you guys have kickboxing, I'll kickbox. Like,
just willing to take anything.
Yeah. So I told them I was just like, whatever you guys got, like I'll take, honestly. So they had gave me a boxing fight, and I went to, I think I fought at 140.
Did you?
Yeah.
So what was the ideal weight like the whole time while you were in the Amis? Like what was your weight pushing for? Like what were you competing at?
All 25.
All 25?
All 25.
So if you don't mind me asking, because you don't look like you walk around 25. What do you know? You look a little bigger than the actual guy that would cut down to 125. So like, is that a crazy cut for you, or is that something you're just super comfortable with because of your amateur days?
I'm comfortable with it, and like I said, like I have good people to like help me out with it. So usually I walk around like when I'm out of camp 145, 150.
Okay.
So it's about 25 pounds. So I I'll never be taking short notice for fights for sure at 25. So it usually take me like a month and a half to get down, but like healthy. Like I could make it, but you always want to be healthy going into fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it takes me about a month and a half, 2 months. So
Okay.
But yeah, like in the AMI, like it was always 125, but for like the right matchup, I'll go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna go up to 35 and fight another wrestler. Like
Yeah. So did you? So you only had to come up in amateurs for one fight? In weight?
Yeah, only that boxing one.
Okay.
The rest were at 25. But in Nebraska, it's kind of cool though. I never used it. I didn't even know until I was there the second time. And my guy had weighed in like at 127. I was like, this dude really missed weight. And they're like, no, you get a 3-pound allowance.
Oh.
So damn, that would have been nice to know. But yeah, 140. And like I said, like I ain't gonna be doing like MMA at like 140, 135 for sure. But for like boxing and stuff, like I spar bigger dudes like all the time, so it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up taking that at 140.
Okay. So what is so with everything tied in? So what was your boxing record in the amateurs?
It was 2-0.
And then your kickboxing record in the amateurs?
2-1.
And then your MMA?
7-3.
Lord, such an extensive background like that, and that's dope. Like, and I commend you for being able to stay competitive in every in those 3 categories, because like, you know, this is one of the things I talk about with my teammates and stuff like that. Like, I would love to see the guys taking more fights outside the MMA realm.
Yeah.
That's gonna help them, and some believe that it will work, and you know, others have, you know, different opinions and stuff like that. But I mean, it's helped you, and I'm pretty sure you've grown as a martial artist just from, you know, boxing to kickboxing to now MMA. So, you know, it's one of those things. And then you said you walk around at like 145, you know, 150 your heaviest, and so like, you know, I talk to the guys in the gym all the time about this. Like, you know, I get a little worried when guys have to cut crazy weight. You know what I mean? And I if it was up to me, I would talk every guy out of in the gym just to fight at a more comfortable weight.
Yeah.
You know, but so my next question is just like, you know, you having that experience, being able to cut down, for someone who's never cut down, what kind of, you know, advice would you give somebody that's trying to make weight at 125 who would, you know, typically walk around at 150?
A lot of it is your water intake for me. So I'm always drinking water. Like I'm doing 2-3 gallons a day. When I first start, you're gonna sweat it out at practice, so that's always good. You're gonna feel good at practice. You're gonna be able. For me, like when I water load like that, it kind of takes your appetite away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you start cutting, what you're gonna have is like a lot of cravings, a lot of like just something you miss. Like for me, like I'm always missing like something like salty, like chips, anything like that. So if you could find like substitutes for that, or like I always have a sweet tooth, so I'll go get something like yams, or just like honey. I'll put honey like on anything. But for me, it's a lot of chicken and rice and salads. So I'll always go chicken and rice until about 4 weeks before the fight, and that'll make me lose pretty much. I'll end up in the 30s, so like 139, 140. Then I'll end up for like the last 4 weeks start switching to like salads, a lot of fruit, and that should get to me to like 132 in 2 weeks. And then those last 2 weeks, so I got about 7-8 pounds, a lot of water, anything that has energy. So like I'll just get a spoonful of honey. That'll get me through the day. Granola bars, that helps too. But just having you got to have a routine. You know what I mean? You can't just go in there guessing and be like, well, today, I don't know what to eat. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to have it planned out. And like I said, I have my little routine, 4 weeks and then 4 weeks. And then the last 2, I try to go in periods, and don't try to lose it all right away. Like I see some people, even from the gym, they'll try to lose it all in 2 weeks, lose everything in 2 weeks. I'm like, why? Why are you going to train at your fight weight the whole time? Like, I'm not going to go down to 125 and stay 125 for two extra weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm 125 probably for 20 minutes max, and that's it, realistically.
Yeah.
And if you are taking weight cut serious, that's how it should be. Why deplete yourself for so long? You know what I mean? And I do see that, and some people I see it affect their performance. Or a lot of people like are like worried, they're like, go up weight. I'm like, no, like I spar some of these 35ers, like hell no. But it's just having a routine for me, and then just don't ever try to like lose it all right away. And then once you do, like I'm sure you've seen or like gone to like the sauna sessions when the dudes are like their last 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah.
That's like the worst time. Some mistakes I've seen people do is they'll go by themselves.
Yeah.
So your body's always gonna want you to go out like when it's uncomfortable, you know what I mean? But if I have somebody there, like Jeremy's literally locked us in there before. He sat in front of the door, and me and Robert couldn't get out. I'm like, come on, homie. But if he wasn't there, like I don't think me and Rob would have made weight. You know what I mean? Because like to us, like our body's like freaking out, so we're like trying to get out.
Right.
But always go with somebody who has like who's done it too. Like don't go with somebody who's never done it. That's just my experience from weight cutting. I don't mind it. Like you said, like I wish we didn't have to. I wish more dudes, but like. Especially like at the pros, like everybody loses probably about that same amount. I wish so, because 35s would be nice for me to go to, because it's not like crazy amount.
Yeah.
But those dudes cut from 165.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of, that's what a lot of people ask me, like, we'll just go up. I'm like, well, they're doing the same thing. They just put on more muscle. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could go in and put on more muscle, but what? Now I'm going to have to cut the same amount.
Yeah. So we're going to take you guys into a commercial break real quick, and this commercial break is brought to you by Victory MMA. So as we just jump back into conversation, one of the things I wanted to touch base on was, you were talking to us about the weight cut, and there is dangers to it, and then it just depends on how serious you take the weight cut. Yeah. So now you gave us the background on your amateur background, and now we're moving forward into that last fight at Fury. Mm-hmm. You sustained an injury, so now where do we go from there? Are we rehabbing? I know, like, what were the emotions coming out of that fight? I know I've seen I want to say it was a Facebook post from you, and it kind of left me in shambles, because I was like, where does he go? Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, so I watched, I'm a fan of like all fighters that come out of Colorado, and people that I know and touch bases with. So it's just like, I watch these fights, like, so watching you grow and stuff like that, and then seeing the post, I was like, no, like I didn't want to accept it. I was just like, so I just, where are you at mentally now, and what are we doing to move forward, and are we gonna see you back in the octagon?
So like that Facebook, like if anybody's like gone through like the whole camp, and like, you miss out on so much, you know what I mean? Doing MMA, like if you're serious about it, like you're missing out on so much. Like I won't be around like friends that are like, I'm still young, like I'm 24. Like a lot of my friends, like, what do they want to do? They want to go to the res, they want to go drink, they like want to have fun, you know what I mean? Like a normal 24-year-old.
Right.
But with like, if I'm like taking it serious, I'm gonna miss a lot of that, you know what I mean? So like after like results like that, and especially how it happened, like when I went up, I just told Jeremy, like, dude, like, you know, like how much we're missing out, like doing this. And like I was hurt, like obviously every time, like, dude, like you feel like nothing like makes sense. You're just like, why me? Like, why did this happen? Why did that? Like, and that whole day was just bad for, I think Colorado, we went 0-10. It was so bad for everybody. It was bad. So for me, like making that post, like realistically, I am one of the only Pueblo fighters who stayed in Pueblo. A lot of other people are from Pueblo, but they leave, you know what I mean? And so for me, like I always carried Pueblo kind of like on my back. You know what I mean? So I have like accomplished like a lot, and then I'm just like, well, what else is there to accomplish? You know what I mean? Like, I'm here now, 1-2. Like, now I gotta win like 4 or 5 fights in a row to like be comfortable where I want to be. So going off that push, I was just like, what else is there? Like, I don't want to be missing out. I want to be like hanging out with friends. I don't want to miss like everything like outside of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go home and like a week later, and you're just like, and especially now because I'm hurt, I'm like, dude, there's nothing more that I want to do than hit a bag, than spar right now. But I can't, and like, but maybe like getting this knee injury has like put me like back, because I kind of did. It wasn't like fun for me anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But having this injury and like not being able to do nothing, like I can't run, I can't do nothing. Like I just have PT, and like I could now I'm starting to be able to like move my leg a little bit now. But it's put me back to like be thankful for like MMA. Like,
Yeah.
you take for granted like so much of like I said, just running. Like I literally can't even run. Like, who would have like ever thought that? Like, you take that for granted. So I do want to get back like right away. Like, I know I'm gonna be all dumb like trying to push my leg, but I can't. I literally can't.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back in there pretty soon after I'm healed. I'll probably take like 3-4 weeks to get back into like the groove of being in shape. I use a lot of footwork like in my striking.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna take forever to get back because I already know my calves aren't gonna be used to it. I just had to do like little calf raises the other day, and my legs were so sore. I was like, Jesus, this is pathetic. But yeah, I do want to get back in. Hopefully shooting for maybe like 2 more this year, if all goes planned with my leg. And yeah, I think it was a blessing in disguise. Like, it sucks, you don't ever want to be hurt, but it has made me like grateful for like MMA. And I'm just like 5 years ago, like I'd be like, gee, if I was really that good, then like if I could have predicted that, I'd been like I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to keep going, because if I do like take a step back and like chill for a little bit, like I said, you're missing out on so much. Like, this sport grows so fast. So I think that's like my main thing is I just want to get back in there already.
So what's the extensive injury like with that? Like you don't have to give us the direct diagnosis to the knee, but like how long are you gonna be missing out? Like how long when's the next time? Not trying to push things, but when's the next time could we see you back in the octagon?
Ideally right now, like I have all my range of motion, everything back. It was the main thing that was messed up was the torn meniscus.
Okay.
So basically it just like blocks your knee, like, and I didn't know like at first like what had happened. So I was like, well, do I like push it? Like, I don't want to pop it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they had told me I had waited 2 weeks to get an MRI, and I ended up going, and they had told me like all that stuff, the ACL sprains, the MCL sprains, and then the meniscus tear. And when I had went, they wanted me like on crutches for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks in this knee brace. So 4 weeks, and I think my 4th week is this week. So ideally, like probably looking at like September, October, if everything's healthy, because like I said, like I don't like to like rush things, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna go into a fight with a knee like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not gonna be able to move. I'm not gonna be able to fight like the fighter I am. So ideally, probably like September.
Okay. So with that being said, you're just pretty much rehabbing, kicking it back. I know you said something earlier about your Fury contract. That kind of intrigues me to ask the question that I always ask athletes, and sometimes want to ask athletes, and it's nothing to be biased about. But I know that with that contract coming up, do you plan on re-signing with them, or could we ever see you in a different octagon?
With them, the only thing that kind of sucks is like, I do like boxing, I do like kickboxing. Like, you have to just be with Fury. Like, if they were like Sparta and had like multiple, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have no problem doing it. So I think when it ends, I want to do one more with them in like that September. End it. If they want to like talk, like we could talk, but I do want to box. So like maybe we figure something out like the way that we can. But if not, like, there's so many shows here in Colorado that I could always have a home. Like, Sparta was a home for me. MCF was a home for me. Colorado Combat Club's there, like TSE's here. Like, we have a bunch of promotions here locally that would like be a lot easier for me. Just be like, okay, hey, like I'm ready like in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys have? So just keep your options open, I think, and being out of the contract, I think that will open a lot more for me.
Okay. Yeah, because contractually, you're just not allowed to compete in any other promotions or any other mixed martial arts until that contract is up, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so just walk us through. So you are a Colorado native, born and raised here in Pueblo?
Yep.
Okay, so, and then just walk us through that. Like, do you come from a mixed martial arts background? I know you said that you were in love with jiu-jitsu, but like, how did that come to be?
So growing up in Pueblo, like I had always played like other sports, like in high school, baseball, golf, and like a bunch of other stuff. So I was always more like in that. But once like high school ended, like you're just so used to like having a routine of like practice. Like I go home, all right, now I gotta go to practice, and then come back home. So I missed having a routine. So like I said, I went to go watch Adam about the same time I was a senior, and just watching that, and I was like, hey, like, what do you think? Like, where should I go? And he had just told me like, hey, like, just try jiu-jitsu first. And so I kind of did that, and that's kind of like just basically how it grew. I'd always watched like UFC like growing up, but never like did like anything like combat related really. Besides, I was more like in like baseball and like just regular like high school sports.
Oh, okay. So, growing up, born, bred fighter here in Colorado. So yeah, moving forward, you are training jiu-jitsu, and then you take your first fight in boxing?
No, MMA.
So okay. So it was MMA your first competitive match?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had done like a jiu-jitsu tournament or a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments, but like my main thing first was
So who were you training under? Like, I know who your head coach is now, but like, who were you originally training under? And did you ever have to switch hands with another gym, or how did you end up training with Jeremy Kimball?
So I was with Pacific Warrior for a while. I was with Gabe and them.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
I know who they are.
So I had started with them. They're really good. Like Gabe, like some stuff I still use. Like so the basic stuff like we had learned then, like I still use. So I'm always grateful for those guys. Like when like Rob has a fight, like I'll go help over there. They're always open arms. Like whenever I need to go over there and like get rounds with those guys. But then you kind of just outgrow places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of like their like main, I had kind of missed the wave. So like their fighters were either like ending their careers or they were like half in, half out. You know what I mean? So I really didn't have what I needed like in partner wise. So Adam had trained with Jim Casillas at Ultimate Performance, so he took me there. I ended up signing up there. That's where I had met Jeremiah Arano, who's my manager now, and Nolan McLaughlin.
Okay.
Who was the strike coach there, and I won my first title with them. And then same thing kind of happened there. Like some people were there, and then people were moving, all kinds of moving parts. And then so Nolan's like, well, I'm just going to take you guys up to Springs. I was with Austin Brown was like my main training partner for those years. He's like, well, I'll take you to meet my coach. And I was like, all right, cool. So we ended up going to Springs with Jeremy. And then ever since that, me and Jeremy have been together.
That is great. Because I know of Jeremy because he used to train with Gilbert Smith.
Yeah.
And I know they're pretty cool, and they got some history together. So I actually met you because I was doing something for one of your teammates, Nate Cullison, and I pulled up to do some media stuff for TSE, and that's when I got to see. I was like, "What?" I pulled up, and I'm like, "Is that Jeremy Kimball?" Yeah. Like I pulled up to you guys. Like it was kind of mind blowing a little bit to see like how small the community is here in a way, because I would have never put you, Nate, and Jeremy in the same until I got there. So that was kind of
yeah, so it all happened pretty crazy, but thankfully it did. Jeremy, we used to have Jackson's down here in Pueblo, and that was like it had everything under one building, and they ended up hiring Jeremy, so it was a lot easier for us. So that's how Nate ended up getting with Jeremy, and then when Jackson's ended up closing or whatever, Nate kind of stood with our team.
So where does the training take place? Are you guys training here? Like, I know you go out there, but is there a gym here that you guys are normally at? And ain't Nate from here?
Yeah, Nate's from here.
So are you, you guys are teammates still, right?
Yeah.
So when do we see him come back?
I'm trying to get him back in now. I know, like I said, like anytime you take a loss, so he had lost in September. I like.
Yeah, to Brandon at TSC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I already know like how that is. Like you either want to go right back in or you just want to take a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he was taking a break for a little bit. I talked to him the other day about what he's doing, like just checking up on him. But for me and Jeremy, we're mostly at Triple Threat in Springs now.
Okay.
So I usually go up there like two, 3 times a week. Meet up there with him, and then I still have Children's Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm still at Ultimate Performance doing like my strength and conditioning and everything there. So usually I'll bring the guys there with me. I took Nate a couple times to spar like a lot of the boxers. Mm-hmm. They have a pretty good boxing team down here in Pueblo for out at Ultimate. So we use them guys as much as we can. James is always open arms of like letting the fighters come in for like camps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just all like, for me, I wish we had like a Jackson setting still, because it was so easy for me because Jeremy was down here. He was the head coach. Childress was doing jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So it was just everything all in one. But I don't know. Like I make do. It does suck like having to travel as much as I do, but to get like the best coaching, you kind of got to do that anyway. So
yeah, we kind of do that now.
Yeah,
we just moved out here to Pueblo, and we're out there every morning, 2 hours early before class at the gym, trying to put in some kind of work, and then the extra that comes around that. Yeah. But so you're training with Jeremy Kimball. You guys, so the next step is for you is rehab it, come back. You want to finish out the contract, obviously, mm-hmm. and then see where the options lead you from there. Do you have any sponsors you want to shout out, or anybody that's been riding with you since day one on this, or?
So I have a couple sponsors. I have Tomas. He owns a landscaping company. He used to do jiu-jitsu with us down at Ultimate, and he had to move in or stuff. But that dude's been there since day one. I also have Zach Schissler. I don't know if you know him. He's another jiu-jitsu guy. I just want to thank those guys. Those guys are always helping me out during camps with their own businesses. And then just like all my family, like a lot of them don't like me doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're always like so supportive. Like my auntie's like always in charge of like my tickets. Like that's a whole nother thing. Like as a fighter, like selling tickets is the most stressful thing. So just having her like take care of all that other like side stuff for me it's just been a blessing, man.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So we're gonna take you guys into another commercial break, and this commercial break is powered in apparel by Alpha Black Label. So we're back, and before the commercial break, we were just kind of chopping it up about a few things here and there, and which brings me down to my next question. Based on you said you cross train pretty much a lot, and I feel like these are one of the most important things that an athlete should do. Yeah. Sometimes it's frowned upon in certain gyms. Certain coaches like it to be one way and direct, and other coaches are completely down with sending their athletes out to get a better look and a different look sometimes, and sometimes you kind of need that. So what are your thoughts on what is your advice for athletes who should You know, I preach this a lot, and sometimes I get looked at crazy, but I do think that it's something that kind of helps complete a fighter. Like, you know, you kind of need these different looks. You get too comfortable in the gym, you become too subtle in the cage with the people you're sparring. The nerves don't kind of get you to overreact no more. You know, the nerves are not there because you know you're sparring the same guys over and over. So, like, you know, how important is it to cross train?
I think that's like one of the most important things for fighters. Like you said, if you just spar the same dude over and over, like I'm gonna end up starting to know what he throws, and he's gonna start knowing what I throw. So then, but that could also work for both of you guys, because now what do you got to do? Now you got to be creative to be able to touch him at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be creative back. So now we're setting up traps. So I think having like main training partners, that's where it does help. Is it helps you both grow, because you guys got to figure out each other. Oh, once you guys figure out each other, now I got to think of a new way to get you.
Right.
So that helps. But like you said, being able to like spar like people like I haven't sparred in a while, like it's just a new look. To me, it feels more like a fight, because I got to fill them out. For me, I always take like a filling out process. So sparring with somebody new, like for that first 30 seconds, I'm gonna be downloading, instead of like if I knew who you were, like I know what I got to go to right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that makes your brain work a lot more, I think. And like you get nervous, like you don't know, like, and like some like you're not looking them up like on YouTube to like pregame, like nothing. Like you're just going in, like you got to figure them out in that first 30 seconds to a minute, and then because you are sparring still. But I think that realistically feels more like the fight,
Right.
than if you were just sparring somebody regular. So I think it is, and you get to see like what they're good at. Maybe like they're catching you with something like over and over and over and over, and you're like, well, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
They could see it because you're in your body. It's like you're really not seeing it, but somebody else could be like, well, your left hand's a little low. That's why I was catching you with this. So it's always beneficial to go with somebody else. It's just new eyes, new body, just pretty much new everything.
That's awesome. And then earlier in the conversation, you said that you were kind of like breaking your time up around the week between different gyms. And one of the gyms that caught me was, you said Triple Threat. Is that Triple Threat boxing gym?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you're training over there. Is that just like your main like that's where you and Jeremy are chopping it up with the striking and stuff there?
Yeah. And we go usually like on Tuesdays, and they have like it's just straight like sparring, not hard sparring, like technical. But like one round will be just jab. The second round is 1-2s only. And like, so you'll go probably, there's usually like 14, 15 people. You go with every person for like 2 minutes, I think. So it takes forever. But
That's where I'm trying to be.
so it takes a while. But, like you said, and what that is like, so once the bell rings, what you do is you'll hop right over. So they'll put pretty much a cross or an X in the ring, and there's 4 things, 2 people and everything, and they have 2 rings, and both of them are full. But you just get with somebody new like fast, and it doesn't matter. Like it could be a big body, it could be a little body. Like there's some girls in there that are good. So me and Jeremy just go there, get work with the boxers, and then like other days we'll go and we'll work like MMA stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's some big names over at that gym, huh?
Yeah. I seen a couple of them. I seen Amir Khan there a couple times. Crawford was there a couple times, and just seeing how they hit bags, how they do everything is crazy. But just like being in that environment, and like I said, like cross training, because now usually it's new people every week. Like, so going through that many rounds, you're always gonna get pushed. Like, you don't know who you're gonna get. Like, so say we're usually, what I think is like a big problem, like in MMA, like if I know I'm better than somebody, what I'll see in gyms is that they'll be like, well, they'll only pick somebody that they're better than. You know what I mean? And when you go to Triple Threat, you really have no choice. Like, you don't know who this dude is. Like, he might be a pro boxer. Like, he might just barely be coming in. Like, you don't know nothing about him. So it's kind of like a surprise. And then some dudes like in there will like light me up. And I'm like,
so does this help the mentality though? Like, because like, you know, a lot of guys have a issue with the ring walk, they're or the cage walk, and then they're going out there and they're trying to turn it on. And I catch a lot of guys, they're trying to turn it on and they're trying to figure themselves out. The emotions are all over the place. They get in there, adrenaline's dumping, and it seems like you kind of train yourself on this already. Like it's just like, oh, well, I'm going to here, I'm going with this guy, I'm going with that guy. We don't know. It's like God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like already kind of like pre-gaming on the nerves before actually having to go in. So does that help you? Does that help at all? Like play a part with, just calming yourself down and just and just with the nerves and everything, just the fight day nerves and just the walkout.
So for me, my nerves are always horrible. Like the whole. Thank God, like that's another thing. Like when I'm weight cutting, I'm only thinking about weight cut. I'm not even thinking about the fight. So that does help me get. But like as soon as I make weight, I'm like, oh shit, like I really have to go fight tomorrow. Like nobody like realistically like is like, well yeah, this is like let's go fight right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have the emotions of like say in a high school fight, like I hate this dude. You know what I mean? So it's not like that for me. It's more like a sport. And basically, like, doing the walk and, like, in the back, like, you're nervous, obviously. That's why, like, my pro debut, like, when I was later in the card, going out there and watching, like, other fights, like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I want to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me a lot. But, like, going, like, right away, like, you're just like, damn, like, I don't want to go yet.
Yeah.
So nerves are always there. But I think, so the only time I really had an adrenaline dump was my debut, my AMI debut.
Oh, okay.
But it's just because, like, it was just more of the unknown. And then having, like, all the fights I did, like, as an AMI and stuff, helped me, like, calm down and, like, taking fights in boxing. Like, I didn't know, so, like, I was just nervous in that.
Mm-hmm.
Kickboxing, like, I didn't know, like, what was going to happen, what could happen. So you're nervous. But I get more nervous for, like if I win, lose, like, I don't get nervous for that. But it's just, like, even if I win, like, when I had knocked out Parker with that uppercut, like, my hand was destroyed for a while. So, like, I'm just like, well, even if I win, like, I still might get hurt. Like, if I lose, like, I might get hurt. So I think that's more of the thing for me, is the only reason why I get nervous, is because it's like an unknown. Like, even if I do win, I'm probably still going to be sore, hurt somehow. And if I lose, like, how am I going to lose? Like,
right. So so in other words, there's no way of really combating the nerves. There's just like, there's no real way of being able to turn it on and turn it off, per se, because some guys, that's what their analogy is. I can turn it on, I can turn it off. How do you like get past all that though? Like, is it just like how are you able to get in there, and then as soon as that bell rings and you're coming across that cage, is it what gets you to turn it up? Is it that first punch?
Yeah.
Is it the first punch you deliver, or is it the first punch you take?
For me, it's like, so you walk into the cage and you're still like trying to fake it till you make it. You pick a walk up song, try to hype you up. Like, you're just trying to fake it till you make it. Don't look at nobody. Like, that's my thing. I'm like, don't look at nobody. Just like sing the song. Like, just think of the song. So once I get to the cage, I'm still like, this is horrible. Like, if I could, I would just bounce out right now. You know what I mean? And then usually the ref, they'll bring you guys together. You ready? You ready? I'm like, hell no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not ready. Like, I don't want to be here right now. But then at that point, like, you're already in there, so like, you might as well try to win. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, like, it is usually the first punch, or like once I find my range, then I'm like, okay, like, this is just sparring now.
Yeah.
Like, I've done this so many times. Like, why was I nervous? And as soon as the fight's over, I'm like, why was I even nervous? Like,
yeah.
This is like just easy, but it's just like the unknown. Like, after I get out, like, I knew what happened, so like, I'm like, oh, like, when I fought him, like, I should have done this and that and done whatever, but it's just the unknown that really like kills you for me.
Right. So we pretty much kind of touched on a lot of the combat background of Isiah Torres. Now it's time to figure out, who you are outside the cage, and one of the things, I want to ask is, are you a brother, are you a sister, are you an uncle, are you a father yourself?
No, I don't have no kids or nothing like that. I have a couple siblings, but it's on my dad's side. So like, we're close, but like not like crazy close, you know what I mean? So they're doing good things. My brother's running track, so he does good, but like I said, we're not really like crazy close. And yeah, it's pretty much just a couple siblings.
So if there was one thing that you can leave on this podcast that you would want people to know about you, what would that one thing be?
Fighting or just personal?
Hey, wherever you want to take it.
So for me, it's just like, what I want people to see in me is that like, I'm always trying to help everybody, like, and be like the life. whether it's the life of the party, whether it's the life of the team, whatever we're doing, like I'm just trying to be like the life, you know what I mean? Like when we're sparring, like I'm always trying to have fun. Like when I'm out with friends, like we're always trying to have fun. Like I don't ever want anything in my life to like be boring, you know what I mean? I don't want my fights to be boring. I don't want my life to be boring. So that's just kind of about me, is like if you're hanging out with me, like don't expect like a boring day. If like we're sparring, don't expect a boring round. And that's just kind of me, honestly.
That's what's up, man. Listen, I appreciate you for stopping to the show. I appreciate you for coming in. And you know, I'm like I always say this to everybody. I'm not ever opposed to having anybody back on the show and to see the growth of people and athletes. I'm here in Pueblo now, so hopefully we will be chopping it up a lot more and, you know, working together on some things. So, man, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and I appreciate you for coming on. But before we go, I would like to give you some merch. This merch is brought to you by Sheath and Alpha Black. I appreciate you guys for the collab, and thank you guys for being able to do this. And we're able to give back to our guests. So here's some merch for you, guy.
Right on.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. For sure, I'll be back. Hopefully we get you out, get you guys down here. Maybe you guys could roll through and we get some training in when I'm healthy. Like I said, like I always want to help everybody in Colorado. I want everybody in Colorado to do good. Being from Pueblo, you guys will start to notice like it's a small world down here. You know what I mean? So I always want everybody to do good from Pueblo. So if you guys are down here, I always want you guys doing good. All right?
Yeah, man. For sure. Appreciate you, man.
Right on.
Thank you guys, man. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.